Welcome, flourishers, to another episode of the Flocking Flourishing podcast. I am thrilled to welcome Alice Kuipers to the show. She is writer, storyteller, and voice maker extraordinaire, the woman behind Confessions and Coffee. Alice's work moves through memory, wonder, and the places we carry inside ourselves. She is amazing with language, generous with emotion, and utterly unafraid to explore what's tender and wild. So I would like to very warmly welcome Alice.
Hi, that's such a lovely introduction. Thank you so much. I've been excited to do this in the hurly-burly of the days, so it's really nice. We managed to find time that worked, so thank you.
We did, because we are sitting on opposite sides of the planet. I am in Finland, and where are you, Alice, right now?
I'm calling in from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Treaty 6 territory. It's homeland of the Métis and many other nations, and is a beautiful place to live and work. It's in Canada.
Beautiful. Now, I have a connection with Canada, which I won't talk about too long, but I did live there in Edmonton for 2 years when I was a little girl and had a Canadian accent for a while.
Okay, but, so you may have heard of Saskatoon then.
I have indeed.
I had not before I moved here, so there was that, yeah.
So I know that you are definitely not from Canada. You can tell by your accent. And you probably have some amazing stories to tell us, or perhaps even experiences of flourishing in different places in the world. How has flourishing showed up for you in your life? And yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'll tell you a little bit about me and who I am in my work and my home life, just so people have a sense of what flourishing means to me. So I'm a writer. I've published 14 books for children and young adults, and then I work as a ghost as well, which means that I hear stories from better known writers and help them craft those stories so that they can go on to publish those. And I have 4 children who are now 16, 14, 12, and 10. But that did mean there was a period of time when I had 4 children all under the age of 6, which I was just talking about with a friend this morning. And she said, I can't think about it. And I said, no, neither can I. It's all a bit of a blur. And I remember even at the time, holding one baby or the other while pregnant with another one, with toddlers running around and people saying, enjoy every moment. And I was thinking, what are you talking about? Enjoy every moment. How ridiculous. And so, no, I didn't enjoy every moment, but I certainly enjoyed lots of the moments. But when everybody's throwing up and you're lying on the bathroom floor yourself thinking, I just want to sleep. That certainly wasn't what I would call enjoyable, memorable perhaps.
Or perhaps even the most flourishing of moments.
I don't know, right? Like, I feel like some of it's just so exhausting. I do remember holding a baby at one point and somebody saying exactly that, enjoy every moment, just holding that baby. And I was thinking, you could just hold that baby for me right now. I'd quite like to just go to the toilet. Yes, enjoy the moment. I'm sure it'd be lovely. And then I also work as head of coaching. At a online creative writing school called The Novelry. So I coach memoir and YA, and I also really try to help our writers over there. We have about 1,500, 2,000 students. I try to help our writers over there find their way to flow. I know a lot about the psychology of flow. I have a psychology degree. And for me, flourishing is really finding those moments of flow. And so flow is the psychological state when time disappears. You're so into something that you're into it for itself, which is called autotelicity. And all of you listening will have something that puts you into flow. So for me, my primary flow activity, that's sort of language around it, is writing. But I also love cooking, not necessarily when I'm having to do it every day, fair, but I do love cooking. And that gives me that sort of loss of time and space and real attention in that moment. And what's happening when I'm in flow is, same as it would be for you, is certain neurochemicals are rising in the body and in the brain. And that helps, I believe, me to show up in all the other ways I try to show up. So as a coach, as a head of coaching, as a writer, as a ghostwriter, as a parent, which is when I need to show up the most, as a partner. I have a partner. We've been together, I don't know, very, very long time, 22 years maybe. As a daughter-in-law to my mother-in-law with Alzheimer's. So all of those places. So to me, flourishing comes from finding time daily to get into flow and really being intentional about that.
Like just everything that you've just said, it sounds like you have made a way to perhaps stop or pause time. You've packed a lot in. I mean, you've got 4 children and just everything that you do. I'm eternally fascinated by time and how time works, and of course, flow. You lose the sense of time. How do you feel about time? How do you pause time? Can you? Is that something that you think about?
It's a good question. I don't think it's about pausing time. I think it's about, for me, and I can't speak for anybody else, but I think it's about experiencing time fully. And so that's really, to me, about paying attention. So what I think of attention as is a flashlight beam, and where I choose to turn that, and I can't always choose it, like I might be completely lost in thought, so to speak, totally absorbed by something that is not where I'm choosing to pay my attention, maybe fretting about something or stressing about something. But when I'm intentional about where that flashlight's going and work to keep that pointed where I want it to be, then I find it easier to be in time rather than in the future or in the past, fretting or nostalgic.
Yeah, that bringing presence to your life is important for me personally, but I feel like that's something that I think we perhaps need to teach more or pass on more. Is that something that you kind of teach your kids about being present and your concepts of flow? Is that something that flows on to the rest of your family?
I don't know about the children. My children don't necessarily want to learn from me. What I try with the kids to do is get them to think about other people and how they are in relationships. So I believe that other people are a mirror for how you show up. So my daughter last night was talking about how something was happening that was frustrating her, and I said, well, all you can notice is how it's making you feel and how it's making you respond. You can't control the other person. I mean, I really could do with remembering that in my marriage, but sometimes I do want to try to control my man a little more than he would like to be controlled. But really, I think in other spaces, that's all I can do there. The kids aren't really very interested in flow. They're interested in TikTok or whatever it is they want to watch on their phones, and they're interested in, football or girlfriends or cars or whatever they want to do. But for me, what I try to do is just when I'm with them is be super present and don't always succeed. That's my aim and my intention. And for me, that comes through writing. That comes through the practice of trying to come to writing most days.
So what other practices do you have? I mean, maybe you don't have the time for any other practices, but writing myself, I don't necessarily write every day, and I have other practices that I bring to my life that kind of help me in that process. Do you have any other things that you do? I mean, obviously you're super busy. I'm trying to imagine you having a long, slow walk in the forest, but maybe that.
No, I do those things for sure. I have ADHD, so I can't do anything consistently, and that's been really something I've worked to learn, because I'd love to be consistent. I realise a lot of productivity teaching is often, and I say this with no disrespect, but it's often done by men whose seasons and cycles are more perhaps patterned, like their body perhaps follows more of a pattern. I'm 46, so my body is following no pattern whatsoever. It's changing daily, monthly. My season is very hard to understand or predict unless perhaps you're a woman too in that same age. But I think a lot of women recognize even that cyclical nature of energy, right? Like where you're feeling. So this week I feel really tired, and this week I feel really energetic. And it's bit hard to predict at 46 what week I might even be in. So my season is one of even less consistency than I'm usually able to manage. But so I try always to think about things by the week rather than by the day. And most days I write. Most days, like I walk. Most days I hang out with most of my kids one-on-one. Most days I take time to either like read or nap or have a bath. Some days I manage to go work out, and then the rest of time is for work, the money making of life.
Oh, I really love that, because I mean, I've interviewed or chatted to many women now, and that comes through again and again, that many of the books, many of these sort of hacks, these kind of things of how you can run your life in a better way. I mean, A, they're not suited for us, and B, like they're just not even necessarily practical in any sense of having a family or understanding even. You sort of think, I've read those books sometimes and thought, well, what are they actually doing? Like, do they have a partner? Is the partner cooking the meals? Or like questions like that. And I feel that the more we talk about it, the more we have conversations around that we are very much cyclical beings as women. And I can tell you, it doesn't get any. I'm 51, and it's still happening. It's still up and down, and it's still kind of can be difficult to navigate that. How else can we work through that kind of thing? I guess that's kind of like I don't know, I feel like all of those productivity hacks were just like not made for women, should have a stamp on the front of them.
Yeah, although women access flow just as well, and so for me I think of it always through the lens of flow science, right? When was the last time I entered flow, and when can I enter it again, and what do I need to do? So flow is a cycle, and if you know all this you can like tell me to stop, but if it's interesting I'll share
I think
about it.
for our listeners it would be interesting.
So flow is a cycle. It has 4 stages. The first is struggle. So perhaps you want to sit down to write, you feel like that's your way of getting into flow, you remember that feeling, you love that sensation of time slipping away and you being really involved in what you're writing. And then you sit down and you have all these kind of discomforted thoughts around not being able to sit down, or you're not a good writer, or you have to do this other thing. That's normal. That's just part of the flow cycle. It actually has to happen. That's the struggle phase. There's a short release phase. I know the least about that phase because it's less impactful. Usually at that point I use what's called a flow trigger. So music or half a sentence or a candle, something that like helps me center. Usually for me it's music, a particular song. And so I sort of push through the struggle phase, 7 to 9 minutes. That's usually how long it is for most people. And then enter flow, just get on with it, dive in. But then there's that 4th phase, which is so difficult for women, I think, which is recovery. So if you don't take that recovery, if you finish a writing session and immediately check email or have to deal with children, which is so often the case, or other caregiving responsibilities, and there's no recovery phase, then it's almost impossible to re-access flow again later, even within the same day. So I'm super intentional about the recovery. So I absolutely take a walk, or absolutely turn my phone off and look out the window and do nothing. It doesn't have to be for very long. But I'm also unapologetic about that. I think a lot of women feel so bad saying I actually need to recover, but I just can't do the things I want to do unless I get into flow, and I can't get into flow unless I have recovery windows. And I also, I have different levels and sets of supports than lots of women do too, right? So I do understand why recovery is impossible, because we're in a system, in a society where it's first of all diminished as important, and then secondly made impossible because lots of people are just grinding to survive, right?
Absolutely. It's interesting because I haven't really heard anyone talk about flow in the way that you have. And I have so many of my friends in mind. I have friends who are artists and creatives, and I think they would benefit so much for knowing that the recovery after the flow stage is part of it, so that they could actually then say, well, I'm recovering. I mean, obviously it would depend on how long the flow state is and where they are in their cycle, but it would be so useful for them. So thank you for sharing that. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's interesting when you think about it like that, because then I know when I'm in flow I can work better, right? So it almost has the trade-offs. If I take a 10-minute walk rather than just kind of sit in that grey zone in the middle there, where I'm just like always trying to do stuff, I'm like, you know what, I actually need to stop for a bit here and just reset, and then try and start the cycle again in a bit. And perhaps I can do like a lighter flow state, and I'm just going to knock through a whole bunch of work admin, or I'm dealing with key performance indicators right now for work. Not necessarily fascinating, but fascinating if I get into it. So to get into it, I have to struggle, release, flow, and carry on. It's not my primary flow activity, but I can still get into flow doing it for sure.
Does intention setting help you?
Yeah, it does. What do I need to do today? Clarity is really important for flow. That kind of direction. If you don't know where you're going, right? Now, I don't think that I can do where I'm going beyond maybe 5 or 6 weeks. I don't have this like overarching need for greatness or all of that. I don't really care about that. I just am like, what do I actually need to get done and want to get done? Where would I like this to look in a few weeks? And then let me reset that in a few weeks' time and see if that still lines up with what my kids need right now, what I need right now, what my partner needs right now. He's about to be touring with a book over the next 6 or 8 months. So one intention will be just holding the fort, right? So what do I need to say no to so I can do all of that?
Yeah. You love music, you just said, and I would love to hear from you. If your life had a theme song right now, what would it be?
Oh, that's funny. I'm listening a lot to Duvchi, Duvchi. He's maybe Swedish.
Oh, okay. Maybe.
Someone. I don't know what type of musician you would call him. But there's a song called "When the Winter Comes." The book I've been working on for the last 3 years is about the winter, and then winter's coming in Saskatchewan, as they say, and that's like
and here,
a -40 situation. It's cold, so I'm actually cold in this room right now. I'm shivering while I talk to you. So I need to turn the heat on inside.
I'm interested in people who move continents, mainly because I've done it myself. It's a purely self-indulgent question, this one, but what has it been for you? How has it been to move continents?
It was painful for me. I didn't really think about what I was doing. Saskatchewan's lovely, Canada's lovely, it's a land of like great opportunity, but I didn't think I was moving forever or for as many years as I was going to. I fell in love with a man who is confident in his choices, and also who has spent a lot of time on his own before we met, making choices. And so he didn't want to leave once we got here, and I didn't really realise that's what I'd signed up for. So I was really homesick for a long time, and it took a long time to think about what that notion of home was and where I was in place. And I missed the people I left behind, and who, like, I guess the sort of life that can't happen and didn't happen. But I think a lot of people feel like that at this age, right? Where they're like, oh, this is what I thought life would be, and it isn't. And that's not necessarily less beautiful or less expansive. It's just, it's not located where I thought I would be. So I'm far from my sister, I'm far from my mum, I'm far from my brother, I'm far from my nieces and nephew. And my children are from here. So there is, no question in my mind where I need to be now. So.
I have to say I can relate to much of that, but I have chosen to come here much later in my life than you, so moving to Finland from Australia, and you miss your family and your friends. And you would have heard perhaps Bloom Where You Were Planted. And it was a fridge magnet that my mum had when we lived in Canada, and it's the reason why I'm kind of focused on flourishing is because of that fridge magnet. I remember it as a little kid, and I was 5 and 6 years old when we were in Canada, and is that something that you can relate to, the idea of blooming wherever you're planted?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's easier said than done, and I think that as many things are, and I think that one of the things about homesickness is the notion of home, like the place that was home doesn't exist anymore, so it's nostalgic, right? So that's interesting and complicated. So when I go to England, the place that was is not there anymore, and the place I have built, I feel I built on shifting sands. So I think that it's something a lot of people reckon with, that they don't live in a place that feels like home, and then once you have left, that place no longer exists. But there's something about the land that's so important to who we are as people and the land that you're from. And I think that stays in some mysterious way, in some connection point that's very hard to articulate, and you hold it with you. So whether you're blooming in a new place or withering, there's still something in that kernel of where you're from, where your family is from, where your bloodline is from, that is important in a very intangible, mysterious way.
Yeah, it's something that I've thought about a lot, in many different ways, because I live here, but also being Australian and a white Australian whose ancestors came with the First Fleet and as convicts as well. I have this sense that I'm Australian, yes, but ancestrally, my ancestors are from the UK. So geography, I think about geography a lot, and the connection with place and who you are and how that shapes you, and inheritance of all sorts of things. I spent a lot of time thinking about a lot of things, and it is interesting when you are taken out of your geography and placed somewhere else. What is the landscape like where you are? Is it very different to where you grew up? Like, is there kind of this massive contrast? And
there is. Can I ask quickly first, why did you move to Finland?
It was a love decision. I had lived here before when I was 17 years old. I came as an exchange student, so I did have a connection to this actual place, which is the Åland Islands. But I moved here 8 years ago, because of love. So I reconnected with somebody that I knew back then. It wasn't love back then, but it's so it was maybe a different reason for moving. And later in my life, my kids are still in Australia, so they're in.
How old are they?
In their 20s.
Yeah, landscape-wise, it's entirely different. I mean, I grew up in southeast London, and Saskatoon has. I mean, when we moved here, there was 220,000 people. Now I think there may be 325,000 here, but I actually don't know. And then beyond that, there's prairie and open sky for a really long time. And then up north, there's boreal forest and lake. So we have a cabin up there now. So that's got a lake right outside the door, and is something that it's just a very different landscape from the landscape of sort of big city and country lanes where I grew up.
Yeah, I've spent quite a bit of time in the UK since I moved here. We've gone many times to visit and in all around. And having been in Canada, it's a very different experience and a lot more distances to cover. Like, everything is longer. Like Australia, I mean, Canada has kind of got those long stretches.
There's a group of artists called the Group of Seven here who began with their work to try to think about how landscape was different. So instead of painting those more traditional landscapes that were sort of tighter, they became more expansive and trying to capture the vastness of space. One of the things in the prairies is we have a lot of sky.
Yeah.
And that I'm very used to now.
Yeah, it's interesting that I grew up where we had huge sky. I lived inland in Australia, and we have a similar group actually who did the same thing, kind of removed themselves, a Heidelberg school in Australia with artists who, you know, schooled in the European ways of painting and thinking, and then really moved away from that. So I really find the connections and similarities in colonized countries of just how they kind of perceived the landscape and, you know, first drew on everything they knew from where they came from, and then you kind of shift away from that and move into it in a new and different way, which I think it's probably important if you're living somewhere else where you're experiencing the landscape and a different way of living, completely different continent many times.
Well, I think there's a lot to learn about the land too, and that's a case of paying attention and listening. Yeah. And like in Saskatchewan, here in Saskatoon, we have a World Heritage Site called Wanaskewin, which is an ancestral meeting place for Indigenous groups that is just outside the city here and has a buffalo leap. But there's just so much about the land and so much of that knowledge that's sort of been pushed aside for the busy hustle, right? And actually stopping and looking and paying attention and noticing. And I think one of the things with Saskatoon and Saskatchewan is that noticing is different, right? You could drive right through, plenty of people do, and not witness what's here.
It's interesting the subtle changes that happen in a landscape that looks like it's the same, but if you spend time and you notice, then you see those changes that you, as you said, you can drive right past and not see it, but you can even live in it and be so busy that you just think that it's the same all the time, but it's not. It's subtly changing. I love that, and it takes, I guess, an intentional presence and habitual noticing, maybe, I don't know, just that being in the space and making the time that perhaps our hustle culture doesn't allow for.
Yeah, right. But for me, the weather that I find difficult is smoke. You know, I'm pretty good with all the other harsh weathers we have here. You know, sort of plus 40 or minus 40, or you know, like it's pretty intense. Blizzards and mosquitoes. There's one or the other, it feels like. But smoke is hard. Smoke is hard to be kind of patient and intentional with, because that's like, that feels like a really violent weather, and it feels like an aberration. And so I'm trying really hard from wildfires. From
wildfires, or bushfires, we'd say in Australia. Yeah, I've experienced that too.
Smoky again this morning. Like, there's really? Like, it's not now, but like, I would say 40, 50 days this summer, and some days the smoke was so thick you can't see 300 yards. Like, so it's a really different weather, I guess is the word for it.
Yeah, and maybe
that's hard. Yeah.
Yeah, that thing of fire too, as humans, it's like built into us. If you smell fire like that, there's danger. So, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good. And you can't see the sun. You know, my daughter turned to me and she's like, I can't see the sun today, Mum. And that's just normal. And you just think, good God, what are we doing? Yeah. And what can we do, right? So.
Yeah. I mean, I guess moving, but maybe for you, that's just not on the cards.
Yeah, well, I think if we moved, some of our children are getting to an age where they wouldn't move to, so, and they're not old enough yet to be super far from me.
So I would love to hear from you. What are you unlearning? It's a question I ask everyone, actually.
I think one of the things I've always struggled with is emotional regulation. And so a lot of the stories that I've sort of told myself around some of that behaviour, like the things that seem to be true, so then I'm emotional, they're not true. And so really thinking about, like, what's the story that I'm believing right now and what is actually happening. and kind of separating those out. So I didn't really need to learn emotional regulation. I was just going through my life, not being very easy to live with. But my younger two sons both have ADHD as well, and it became apparent that unless I really learned or relearned or unlearned how to parent differently, that the trajectory, particularly for my third child, was going to be really, really different from what I would like it to be for him. He was really struggling, and so I had to. But he wasn't going to change unless I did. It's all well and good to be yelling at someone, stop yelling at me. So I had to relearn things and redo things and unlearn a lot of patterns around that, but none of which I'm particularly proud of. The behaviours in the past, and it's still my natural tendency is to be quick-tempered, but I'm much better at just noticing it and being like, okay, here we go, and not actually then reacting because I'm cross. So that's been hard. Didn't actually think I could ever do that, and I feel quite pleased with myself of some of that work that I've done to shift that. But yeah,
that's great, because I mean we're all a work in progress, right?
That's what it feels like. It just feels like, I remember there was a time when I just thought there's no way I could get through the day without raising my voice. I just don't know how I would do that. So what I did is I made a sticker chart. It's ridiculous, but this really helped me. I like stickers and check marks. I guess it's an ADHD thing. I like that little and so I made a sticker chart, and so then for my partner, Jan, and then for each of the children in the house, so the four of them, they would give me a sticker if I didn't yell at them that day.
Okay.
And then I'd put a big black cross if they, and then I would ask them at the end of the day, did I yell at you today? To your mind, not my perception, your perception.
Yeah.
Awful. Awful. It's humiliating, even closing my eyes, remembering it. But eventually I started getting some stickers, and eventually I got more stickers, and now most days I do not raise my voice.
That's really fascinating, and I think it's important that we hear different ways people deal with how they're changing, and you've made it a family thing. You made it a family thing, and you use. I mean, yes, it's humiliating, but
it's so humiliating. It's humiliating now.
Yelling. Maybe.
Oh yeah, it was not. But I just couldn't see how to change it. Could not change it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's the reward system, and gold stars. Teachers use it every day.
I know, and I was like, it still works for me, and I'm a grown up.
But you know.
Anyway, that helped me, and so I'm doing the same thing right now, just for myself with drinking, because I just notice I tend to like a glass of wine, but in Canada they say 2 a week is the most. Canadian Medical Association. That's
I was going to say
for women.
Just check out what France says, and then do a happy medium.
I just thought I'd just see, could I do just 2 drinks a week as advised by the country where I now live, and that is not easy.
I was having a conversation with a group of women who I meet regularly with. They're 70 plus, all of them. They're amazing, and they were saying the same thing. One of them was saying, well, I read that you can get cancer even if you just have 1 small glass a week. And I said, well, it's like, have a look at the study first. How big is the sample size? Like, trying to talk it through, but also the balance between finding joy in life and
I think for me, what I want is not necessarily control, but choice. Right, so rather than being like, oh, automatically I'm making someone down a glass of wine, just be like, notice what days, and like choose it with friends, or choose it when it feels like a time when I want to be, rather than just automating. So I suppose that's an unlearning too, to go back to your question. Like, what's automatic? I guess it's where is my attention? What's automatic and what am I choosing?
You're being more mindful. You're being more mindful. Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, so that's back to little stickers again.
Yeah.
I'm putting a little sticker on the days when I'm like, oh, I didn't have a drink. And like some days I do, some days I don't. I'm not trying to give myself a hard time over it. I'm just trying to notice and then look back and be like, okay, that seems reasonable. Or wow, there was like 2 straight weeks there where I wanted a glass of wine every day, which is fine. There's no issue with it, but just like, what is happening for me? Why is that, right?
And I think it is asking those questions and being aware, having that awareness of, and instead of just grabbing the bottle and having it without thinking about it, without thinking about what you're doing, and that's when it can increase. And of course, I mean, everything in moderation. It can start
with the occasional excess, I'm afraid.
Yeah, well, I think that's human. That makes us human, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I like it too when like fun. I think is really important. I think it's really important, and it doesn't just have to be boozy fun. But like this last weekend, for no real reason at all, I organised that we would all go outdoor laser tag shooting.
Cool.
So my 12-year-old son, his group of friends, and all of their families, and they were like, "Why are we doing this?" And I said, "There's no real reason." But did we want to? It's like Sunday night, 6 till 9, when I would have just been like doing laundry and watching telly or whatever. And I was like, "Okay, let's do this." So yeah, we all were like running around in the bush, like shooting each other with lasers. It was really. Did
they have fun?
Everybody had so much fun. It was so fun. It was so silly. But I was like, I don't know. I just felt like we'd sort of vaguely talked about it through the summer, and then I was like, if we don't do it this weekend, there's going to be snow. So let's just do it. And so we did. So there's about 30 of us, like in this mad outdoor. It was night. I think it goes dark. We were shooting in the dark. It was really fun, really silly. But I was like, I feel like there needs to be the occasional silly fun in life.
Definitely. And it's interesting. I had a focus. I had the beginning of this year. I had themes, and I had a focus on play, and it was massive. And I continued on with it, because what I realized is that we can be intentional about it. We can decide to be more playful, and you open up to those possibilities. And it is about doing those spontaneous things. Your kids will not remember like massive chunks of their life, but they will remember that laser tag because it was fun. And
I think play is really important. I actually don't think, I mean, you don't really write unless you want to be playful. And I think sometimes as writers we forget that, you know, it's like, what is it for, and how's it going to make me money, and what am I going to do with it? But you can't actually write anything if you're thinking like that. It has to be playful first, and then see where it goes, right? So it's interesting, after that sort of silly, playful, complete break from phones and any sort of reality, this week I managed to do a lot with the book that I'll be editing over the next 3 months. Like really a lot. I've managed to go through the whole thing, timeline the whole thing, except for the last 70 pages, which I'm going to do later today, just because I had a lot of renewed energy for that work, because I'd sort of really stepped away, right?
Yeah, it's important, and it goes back to flow again, doesn't it? That you kind of moving out, doing something completely different, to then moving to that productive flow again.
For me,
yeah. I think. I mean, talking about how we go about in the world, I think it gives people ideas and sparks, and they'll follow threads and they'll hear something. You know, maybe it's the sticker thing. It might be. Maybe they will book something playful, but I feel the more we share of how we live and the way we muddle through the world. I mean, it sometimes feels like muddling to me. That it's important that we're sharing those things. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's why I love to read, right? Whether I'm reading fiction or non-fiction, it's how I learn more about the world. Over at Confessions and Coffee, we have what's called a life-changing book club, where someone tells me a book that's changed their life, and then I read it, and just see what that reading experience is like, and other people chat about that too. So we've had some really, really lovely books in that. We're doing The Snow Child right now. The name of the author completely escapes my mind in this moment. And that's just a wonderful reading experience. But I think for me, reading is always a way to meet someone else's understanding of the world, right?
Yeah.
And learn or see or hold that mirror up and just be like, oh, I never thought about it like that. Or that's the perfect language. Jan and I are in this phase, which is quite cute. And I can't say marriage has been an easy thing, not that we're actually married, but right now we're going to bed and reading a poem. Just one. He was like, how about a short story? And I was like, it's too long, we can't do it, just a poem, that's fine, whatever. We found this book and it's called A Book of Good Poems, which makes
brilliant.
It's like, I don't know, I think it's just a high school textbook or something. I don't know where it's come from. Very old. It's very like in a certain, these are the types of poems. So we'll definitely make sure we branch out and read other works too. But
a good start. A good poem.
Yeah, we're reading reading one the other day. I can't remember who the poet was now. It doesn't matter. But it was a poet from a long time ago, and it was from a different book. They're about to make love, these two characters in the poem, and they're on a rock. And Jan read the line "crows scream" as cows scream, and I was listening, trying to concentrate on the poem. Poetry's fun, right? You have to concentrate. So we're trying to focus just for like 3 minutes of the day. And I'm like, what? And he's like, cows scream. And I said, are you sure? And he's like, oh no, it's crows. And both of us were like, there's an interesting way to think about crows, but felt more. For days now, we've just been giggling about this idea of cows screaming, and so
try to imagine a cow screaming.
I know, right? Especially at that moment of like just as they're about to, get really close to each other on the rock or wherever it was they were outside in nature. Anyway, it was quite the moment. But to bring that to a point, this notion of language and relationship and how we communicate and what we communicate and whether we're understanding each other or hearing each other, confirming that we've understood.
Yeah.
Repeating back, hearing each other, that I think is essential. And what writing and reading is about, and these types of conversations when you're listening and thinking as you're going about your day, right?
That's right. Because somebody might be listening to this doing cleaning or driving their car, or you just never know. One book that's changed my life, I'm going to share it with you and share it with everybody. It is a non-fiction book called Sand Talk by Tyson Yunkaporta. And he is Indigenous Australian academic and writer. And I have read it 3 times. The audiobook is him reading it, so I highly recommend that. And if you do listen to it, that it does have elements that you need to also see, marks and so on. So it is good to have the book as well. But it is an absolutely fabulous, mind-blowing journey into a tiny little insight into Indigenous thinking in Australia. The subtitle is How Indigenous Thinking Can Save the World. And it's I've recommended it to so many people now, and I will one day meet him. That is on my to-do list. Yeah, really mind-blowing.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm going to start building some of the list. I've realised I can't build the whole year. I can do. We just do 6 books through the year, so I feel like this is perfect for next year. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Yeah, 6 books is great.
We did Braiding Sweetgrass here, which has got a lot of thinking about. Yeah, so that's one of the ones that we did where we were really looking at landscape and culture.
It's a very good companion read, Sand Talk and Braiding Sweetgrass. And then I tried to find something that was written about the Sami. At the time, I found quite a sort of dry academic book, but now my Swedish is better. I could definitely read in Swedish now. It wouldn't be a problem. But
did you learn Swedish as an adult?
Or I learned when I was 17.
Yeah, that's what I was remembering. You said when you were 17.
Yeah, so, I mean, I didn't speak it from then until, maybe a little bit a few years later. But, yeah, I had a 25-year break from speaking it and then came into it. So, yeah, and, I mean, it's excellent now. Most people here don't know that I'm not from here, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, I think a lot about language when you were talking about that, because my husband is Swedish speaking. He's very good at English, but we are continually making sure that we're understanding each other and
That's
checking in with each
interesting.
other. When you don't share the same mother tongue, it
I think
makes
even if you
communication
do share the same mother tongue, I think
exactly.
that, like, I mean, Jan is Quebecois,
Mm,
and he speaks perfect English, except for the
mm,
occasional word, right?
yeah,
But I still think that even if he was born an English speaker, there's just so many things that you, especially
yeah.
if you're from different countries, right?
Hmm.
But even if you're just from different families down the
Yeah,
block,
yeah.
there's all these things that you
It's
don't realize are assumptions about how the world should
exactly.
be that aren't
Yeah.
actually true, right?
So many layers to communication, and so many. It's interesting. I had a live discussion with Lisa Debovich on Substack recently, and we talked about
Mm-hmm,
assumptions. It was that idea of assumptions can get in the way of so much.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Um, I I think because I have lived here and I tend not to assume, just because I've been in that situation where it can be people assume that I know things, and I tell them, I usually say to them, I am not from here, and this is not my native language, and they
mm-hmm.
almost don't believe me
Yeah.
sometimes. But because people have made assumptions, and I'm left asking questions, and I'm pretty sure they're looking at me like, why are you asking that question? It's like what? So I kind of try to set assumptions aside, or just do it. I think I just set them aside naturally. But of course, it happens. We do assume. We assume things, or maybe presume even. But we had a really good conversation about that. It was really interesting.
Mm-hmm. No, I'll try and listen to that. That sounds great.
Yeah, yeah, it was good. Yeah. Anything else on flourishing that you would like to share? How
Mm.
do you flourish when it's -40?
Get into cross country skiing. Um,
Do you do
yeah,
that?
yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
I try to. That's one of those things
Mm,
I look at like over the season rather than
yeah.
over the week, because I certainly don't go
Yeah.
every week. But I try to go a few times every year for
Yeah.
sure, and quite like it in
Yeah.
small doses. I
Yeah.
like it's just so cold, right?
Yeah.
But I always enjoy it once I actually get out and do it. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of that, right? Like sometimes the
Mm.
transition from one thing to another is a bit feels insurmountable
Mm.
to actually get on with it. I like it. Um,
Do you
I
feel
guess.
like it's
Go on.
sorry, I'm gonna interrupt because do you feel like it's harder to live with these harsh seasons? I mean, yours is way harsher than Finland. Like we don't get anywhere close where I live to -40. Do you feel like it's because we're not from these places that it can feel harder or more difficult to
I
deal
find it
with
really funny
those?
here. No, it's just every year people say to me, "Oh, it's cold this year," and I think, "Cold? Do you believe that?" And
They
people are from
forget.
it and they say, "Oh, it's the long winter." And I'm like, "It's
Yeah,
always 6 months. Like it's always this long. It's
yeah,
always this cold." There's this sort of mad thing in Saskatchewan from about the 1st of March.
yeah,
The weather starts to tell us it's going to be -1 in 5 days, and it
yeah,
is not till maybe the end of April. But
yeah,
it's like it's going to be -1 at the weekend, and then like come April, it's like it's going to be +1 at the weekend, and it's just like it's almost like it's just a lie. It never is. You're like, okay, I don't know why you'll believe that, but yeah. So I just find it interesting.
they
Um,
do have
People
seasonal
from here, yeah,
amnesia. I
yeah,
have noticed that here as well. They'll say, "Oh," and they talk. I mean, it has changed. Climate change has changed here, particularly. Well, I'm surrounded by water, so it really does change. We don't have like the heavy snow that they used to have. I mean, I'm only going by people's
yeah.
like amnesia style seasonal memories, so which is interesting. But yeah, for people who aren't from here, it's just like, well, it's the same. I mean, it's dark and shitty. I mean, we get this like slush stuff now, so I don't know. It's the darkness is hard. I think when the snow comes, it's nicer because it lights the world up.
hmm I
It's
use a
not.
sun lamp in the winter now. That's improved my winters a lot. I just
Mm,
have one that I turn
yeah,
on in the mornings, and it makes a massive
yeah,
difference to I actually didn't expect it to, but it really does. It's just, it was like $80 from the drugstore or whatever, and it makes a very big difference to my cheeriness around winter.
Yes.
I wasn't like sad in terms of my own mental health. I think it can be very useful for that, but I wouldn't know. But what I felt was I just made the winter feel less dark, because it was. I had light on. Yeah. No, I was like, oh, now I have this light and it doesn't feel as dark. So it shifted something there for me.
That's lovely.
And then winter. I mean, Catherine May writes a very beautiful book about winter. And one of the things I noticed, was, but I was like, that is not winter. No. Like, it really isn't. It's she's outside and she's walking around and she's able to get in the water at one point.
Even I thought that wasn't winter. I was kind of
like, I'm reading it and it's minus whatever ridiculous outside, and there's no sign of water because it's under this much ice, and you can walk on the lake like all the way across it, and the teachings in it are very, very wise and thoughtful about this notion of this is the season. And it is just a season, right? So, I mean, I've done a lot of winters now. And I used to say in a kind of frantic, ragey panic, I can't do another one. I can't. I don't want to do this. We need to move. I can't do it. And now I'm just like, well, this is just the way it's going to be, right?
Yeah. And it will be another, like it moves through. It's like not forever.
No. It's long though. 6 months is long. It's long. Winter is really long here.
Yeah.
And so, so I try to read more and just shift, what I'm doing with my time. And I try to really enjoy the summer. There's a poem, like just opening a few lines of a poem, and I quite enjoy this time of year. And it's a children's poem, and I can't remember the author. But the lines go, something told the wild geese it was time to go. The fields were soft and golden, but something whispered snow. And the poem carries on, but for me there's this feeling right now, like it's golden. It was 30 degrees yesterday. We took the kids to like the river beach and went for a swim at one point, bloody freezing the water, but there's all these geese leaving. They know, right, what's coming, and I'm kind of pretending it isn't. Now
we got to enjoy it
by pretending.
The geese are leaving here too, I have to say, and the jackdaws, or we have jackdaws here, small corvids, and they get together, and like at this time of year we have an esplanade where we live, and it's 2 lines of amazing trees, and they just filled in the mornings and the evenings, and they're all getting ready, and they make this like really special sound, but it's like a cacophony of sound, and it's like soon it'll be silent and there's no birds. They all go, and it's quiet. And
there's a writer over on Notes here on Substack. Her name is Melissa Lee, and she takes photos, and she's taking photos of the geese arriving. So that was really enjoyable. I was like, I think they just left here and they've headed wherever she is, further south, right? So so that's quite awesome, right? To think about seasons and how they're different. I think sometimes the geese go to England as well.
Yeah, I mean,
they call them Canada geese.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we have them here now, actually, even in Finland, Canadian geese. And I know there are birds here that fly from Finland that go to Africa. So there are a lot of bird watchers that come to our islands and check out the birds flying over. Yeah. What are your plans for the rest of your day?
Here in Saskatoon, there is a challenge that is run by a nonprofit called Sanctum Care Group. And I'm on the committee that helps organise this challenge. And so what happens is we ask 10 local leaders of the community. So we have the mayor, we have the chief of police, we have a local wonderful influencer who's a friend of mine. Anyway, and a few other people who are putting aside their clothes and their belongings and taking a look at the city as if they were homeless for 36 hours. So it's called the Sanctum Challenge. And so as soon as I'm done here, I'm going to go and take a couple of videos for Sanctum Care Group of how people are seeing the city from a different point of view. We're very careful that it's no sort of replication of homelessness, but lots and lots of people with lived experience are part of helping create this, so that they can try and just get people who are in positions of power to see what the city's like through their eyes. Because I think when we try to just see it differently, like it's all well and good the weather when I can go inside, right? But the smoke this morning when it was really smoky downtown, there's people who I'm driving by who've slept outside, and who wake up and, you know, they're asthmatic or they have COPD. So I'm just going to spend some time thinking about that. We have a big supper at the weekend. People will talk about the work they've done since doing the challenge. So 56 people have done that challenge now over various years, and I've been involved a lot of the years in that. And it's a big fundraiser for Sanctum Care Group and their programming. Their favourite of my programs is one where mums who are pregnant and homeless, either with HIV or at risk of HIV, have a home to come to, and then the opportunity to parent rather than having baby apprehended. And so through that, lots and lots of mums and babies have had the opportunity to build that attachment bonding. But also one of the kind of side pieces of that is that lots of children have been returned from foster care to the care of those mothers. So children who were apprehended earlier on, those mothers who've had kind of a chance to reset. So to me, that's really important, that notion of families being together. We actually have older honorary daughters who have been part of our life for a long time. So I have an older daughter who's in her late 20s now, and a granddaughter. They don't live at home with us. But this notion of like families supporting other families so families can be successful is really important, and kind of roots a lot of what I try to do outside of my writing life. So that will be what today happens to be. What's nice about my work life is it's very varied, right? So I also have to do those 70 pages because I'm talking to my agent tomorrow about the new book. So
but that sounds amazing. What an incredible project. I'll make sure that I have links in the show notes about that.
Sure, it's wonderful work that Sanctum's doing, and really interesting. I mean, what the executive director and team there have tried to say is, you can rewrite this story, right? Deciding someone is unfit to parent, deciding someone is unfit for a chance to belong. And lots of people who come to Sanctum, the first thing they say is they've never had a home before. You know, 52% of our homeless population have been through foster care in Saskatoon. That just doesn't seem complicated to me, right? You're just seeing a system that's not working. So giving people that sense of belonging, that sense of home is so important.
You're kind of laying the bed or the groundwork for flourishing, aren't you, really? I mean, you're kind of giving them that basic kind of the needs that people housing is healthcare, right? And so without a place to call home, then it's so difficult to do all the other things, right? They have a housing first program here in Finland that's been working really well, and of course the climate is one of those things that they've taken into account with that. So I mean,
what you're looking at in Saskatchewan is generations of harm, right? Through colonialism. And so we've had Orange Shirt Day this week, where we look at that history of residential schools and ask people to reflect on that. And then I just think any opportunity where families can be given a chance to have the supports in place to be able to thrive is really vital. So that's just stuff I'm interested in outside of writing. Outside and inside of writing.
It's all connected, isn't it? It's
to me, for sure.
Thank you, Alice, for your time today. It's been a real pleasure getting to know you and hearing your story and what you're passionate about and interested in, and how you move through the seasons.
Thank you so much. And I will look out for that live you talked about, where you're talking about assumptions. I'm going to try and find that and listen to it right away.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to the Flacking Flourishing podcast, where we say a bold yes to growth, mess, and midlife magic. If you love this chat, make sure you're subscribed, share it with your fellow queenagers, and perhaps leave a little love in the form of a review. It helps more fabulous humans find me. Until next time, keep flourishing your way, no fluff, no filters.